Welcome to A Fork in Time, the alternate history podcast.
Welcome back to A Fork in Time, the alternate history podcast. Don sitting not in the host chair today, but sitting in the quick announcements chair, as this is not an episode, but this is a quick announcement to our listeners about a couple of things that are new and are happening related to the podcast. And they're all different ways. The common theme that they share is how to interact with the podcast, interact with the team, and also interact with other listeners. We've often talked about the fact that while a podcast tends to be mostly a one-way medium, with our listeners serving as that listeners and our hosts and our participants serving as hosts or subject matter experts, we have tried to build and have done a pretty good job, I think, of building a community here at A Fork in Time and the companion podcast, The Room Where It Happened. And so we actually have a couple of new things that we're going to be doing. We've already mentioned at least one of these, but there are two other ones, so I thought I would roll them all together here in a quick announcement. The first is September the 22nd. Mark down the date, 9 p.m. Eastern Time in the U.S. You'll have to do your own calculations if you're in a different time zone, figuring out where you stand plus or minus UTC. But we're going to be hosting our first live stream. This is going to be hosted so that you as listeners have a chance to interact in real time via the live stream with the Fork in Time and the Room Where It Happened team. We've been talking about this for a couple of months. We've mentioned it on several episodes, and now we're finally here. We're within 7 days of it actually happening. So September the 22nd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want information about that, as well as everything else that I'm going to mention here, you can visit the website. That's www.aforkintimepodcast.com, and there you can find links about the live stream and the other two topics that I'm about to mention. You can also check out the show notes of this particular release of the podcast below, whatever your podcast listener is, with a link to go to the live stream connection. That's a chance for you to RSVP that you're coming. Let us know that you're coming. Whether you're coming or not, it's also a chance for you to leave your questions or topics for our discussion. So would encourage you to visit the live stream page at the website. The second thing is we've created and set up our Discord server. For those of you that know what Discord is, obviously it's a place where you can interact with other participants, chat boards, all the things that messages, all the things that can go on to the Discord server. So we've set up one for A Fork in Time in the Room Where It Happened. If you don't know what that is, this is a great chance to learn. I have to tell you candidly, it was not something that I knew a lot about, but it's a great way for us to be able to interact with each other and for our listeners to be able to interact more readily with each other. So you'll find, again, notes or a link to the invitation in the podcast notes below. And then, of course, at the website, you can find out how to connect to us there. There's a link for connect to us on Discord, and then also some other information as well. Finally, the last thing is some of you may be familiar with, because I think this really plays well into who our listeners are, the popular board game that was first released in 1959 known as Diplomacy. I was trying to explain to someone the other day what diplomacy is, and the best way I knew to describe it to a broad audience was that it is risk without the dice. And so what you have here is a game of international cooperation, but also international conflict where there's no luck involved. It's all about the skill of the particular participants, their ability to, by hook or by crook, by being honest and loyal or by being a backstabber, work and cooperate with or overcome their opponents. If you're familiar with the game, it's moved and has for a number of years online because it's often difficult to get a face-to-face game and because of the time commitments involved there. And particularly during the pandemic, during COVID, when a lot of folks had time and found themselves unable to interact with others, it saw something of a resurgence. So we've set up a place where we're going to be hosting games that are for us and for our listeners. And so if you're interested in participating in some of those games, whether you're a Diplomacy Pro or whether you've never played the game at all, there'll be something for you. Again, information about that can be found at our website. That includes a background on the game, a place to go and download the rules to see where we're hosting those games, all of that type of stuff, or in the show notes below by visiting the Diplomacy page. The whole idea here is have ways for us and our listeners to interact. So we've given a couple of different options, beginning with the live stream, again on September the 22nd, our Discord server, which will be up all the time, and a place for us and for you to exchange ideas, thoughts, discussion, debates, whatever the case might be. And then, of course, the ability to play and sort of make history instead of just talk about history with diplomacy. We hope that all of these things, or some of these things, might be of interest to you, and we look forward to interacting with you that way. Until the next episode, this is Don signing off for A Fork in Time. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to A Fork in Time, the alternate history podcast. Learn more and provide feedback by visiting our website at www.aforkintimepodcast.com. Connect to us on Facebook at facebook.com/aforkintime or follow us on Twitter at AFIT Podcast. If you want to support the show financially, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/aforkintime. We hope you will join us next time.